we are developing students for the industry, career technical education, so that they become our replacements.
These young people have chosen this opportunity to get a jump start on their career.
They'll have a better idea about what they want to do and what they're good at by the time they leave high school.
There's some great opportunities for these students that are coming out of the career and technical programs from Henrico County.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Henrico CTE. Now, I am Rashawn Garnett, and with me I have
Mike Roberts.
And also have somebody else with us here today. Mike?
Mac Beaton.
Beaton.
Sorry,
on, Mike.
I messed that up.
What are you doing?
So yeah, there's going to be a meeting with.
There's going to be a whole
He's going to come in the office.
So, no, we got Mac here with us.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Director of Workforce and Career Development here in Henrico County Public Schools. We got another guest here as well. Another guest outside of Henrico County. But first, as always, I have to remind you to check us out on our social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all at the handle Henrico CTE. Also check out henricocte.com. Get all the cool information about the courses we offer, stuff we got going on, the accomplishments of our students of CTE, and just really get informed on what Henrico County CTE has to offer you and your student, or if you're a student, offer, I guess, yourself, right? You know, some things you can take advantage of. So check out henricocte.com. Mike, tell them where they can find the podcast.
You can find our award-winning podcast.
It is award-winning.
Yes, it is. Our award-winning podcast at all of your major podcast venues and the majority of your minor ones. So find us on your favorite app. Like and subscribe. Join the thousands that are listening to us. Thank you.
Thousands and thousands.
Thousands and thousands.
Are there really thousands, Mike?
There's
Now
thousands and thousands. We're almost hitting 6,000. We're just a few away.
Oh, that's
Hopefully
wonderful.
This is the one that's going to put a show on.
I think every time we put one out is going to be the one that puts it over.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
potential. All right, guys. Now for your feature presentation, as I always call it here on Henrico CTE. Now we have with us President and CEO of Chamber RVA, Mr. Brian Anderson. He told me drop the Mr. Let's call him Mr. Anderson. So we're doing it.
It's just
call
Brian.
Him. Just going to call you Brian.
It's Brian.
Just going to call you Brian. And Mr. Anderson. Oh, Brian.
Brian.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. It's a habit. It's hard to break. Thank you so much for joining us here on Henrico CTE Now. And we'd like to start typically with getting some background on the guests that we have on here. We're going to start with you. And then, of course, we'll end up talking about Chamber RVA and Mission Tomorrow. And if you're in the Richmond area, you might have heard of Mission Tomorrow. It's hard not to hear about it, especially if you have young ones in the house. So let's just go ahead, Brian, and give us some background on you. How did you get to where you are today?
Well, it's a very interesting and long process, so I'll make it very quick. Out of college, went to the Army because that's how it paid for my college. Did one tour with the Army and loved it, but yet didn't want to spend my whole life there. Knew I wanted to get into business, so I spent 20 years both with Coca-Cola and Budweiser. Enjoyed that. Mostly on the marketing and branding side was my favorite. But that really wasn't where I was going to be eventually, and it just led to me becoming an elected official, which I enjoyed for one term. Realized I'd done enough of that. But all of that helped me know that chamber work, when I finally got the opportunity, was going to give me a chance to do the things I'm most passionate about. You know, when you sell a bunch of product and you make a lot of money for a company, that's fun for a day or two, and then you realize, well, now I got to go do it again. And what did I really do? And so when I got into doing more community service type work, again, specific as an elected official, working with workforce, economic development, chamber world is where I thought I could do the most of that. So it gave me the chance at a small town we lived in at the time, Dalton, Georgia, to take over a struggling chamber and really see what we could do with it. And we had 8 years, my team and I, and doing everything from building an economic development team to really building a workforce development focus. We had a community college we completely redesigned to make sure it was doing what we needed to do and working with our high school programs. And now I'm on my third chamber. So I went from Dalton, Georgia to Columbus, Georgia, and now here in Greater Richmond. And it's really what I want to do for the rest of my career. I mean, obviously the rest of my career, but I'm going to spend the rest of my career here. This is the biggest market I've lived in. It's also one that I think we've got the most potential in as we want to help young people, as you all do so well. So that's kind of how I got here. I tell people it's kind of a weird path, but I think I'm better at what I do because I had that military, political, and business experience to become a better chamber executive.
One thing you kept hitting on was chamber. When you hear the term chamber, define that for me. What is a chamber?
I tell people that if you look at the definition, it goes back literally a couple thousand years. It's been chambers, business organizations, business alliances forever. In the United States, I think the first one was in Charleston, South Carolina, 1780 or so. And so if you look at what we do, it's really to help speak for the business community. And that means a lot. It means I can have a conversation with almost any topic, and we ought to be there. We don't necessarily have to do the work. I mean, we may not be the organization that should lead affordable housing or should lead why the streets aren't paved, but we ought to be part of that conversation, because what's good for business is also usually good for the community, or what's good for the community is good for business. So we feel like that chamber work, which, and again, every chamber is different. Some do tourism, some do economic development, some do only the typical placemaking work. In our case, as a regional chamber, we kind of bounce around a lot of the issues, but focus on what's really big for what's good for the entire region. So it's transportation issues like the I-64 corridor. It's talent in the sense of how we can make sure we've got gaps. So how we take the great work happening in Henrico and maybe help push that into another jurisdiction that needs the help. How we make sure our community colleges and four-year colleges are connecting with the high schools in the way that they should be. So that's sort of every chamber's got a different way of looking at it, but in our case, we try to we want to make sure each local jurisdiction, you do the work, you do the strategic imperatives, and you try to work on them.
Absolutely. And then so you guys are sort of the middleman between community and business. Is that a correct assumption
Exactly.
to make?
I mean, if you got big companies, Altria, Dominion, Capital One, they've got enough size and breadth. They can do what they want to do. But if you get below that, then companies are about making shareholder value and keeping their employees happy and making a profit. They don't have time to do the community stuff. So they really ask us, go make sure I've got talent that I need. Make sure that my employees can get to work on time because the roads are functioning. Make sure I can hire the right people because they're coming through the pipeline and have the skill sets that I need. So that's sort of the way I look at it, is that we are a business insurance policy. If we're doing our job right, then business has the conditions to thrive. If we don't do our job right, then they may survive, they may thrive, or they may not. So it's really how to help bring the whole ecosystem of business to a different level.
When you're talking with businesses, what is it that they're looking for today when it comes to young people coming out of schools, whether they're coming out of high school, coming out of college? What is it they're really looking for right now? It's known that we've been experiencing a shortage of people into different fields. I mean, it's across the board. What is it that they're looking for that they need coming out of the schools, coming out of the colleges?
Well, I should defer to my good friend Matt, because he's probably heard this a million times. But he has heard it because it's said often. Critical thinking and soft skills are the number one thing, because being able to do what you've got to do, get along with people, manage yourself, manage a project, those are things that are across all disciplines. And then secondly is the technical knowledge. And again, that's even not as critical for most jobs. If you're going to be a doctor, yes, you got to have pretty technical training. Right. If you're going to be a lawyer, obviously. But if you're not going to be in something so specialized, then the company's going to help train you. I met a young lady yesterday that I hope we'll get to hire, who has a public policy degree from William & Mary. I mean, I could tell in 5 minutes she was exactly the kind of employee I'd want, because she can do anything. And she doesn't know what she wants to do. So because of the way she carried herself, she'd done her homework. She could answer my questions without having to go, which I do more of than I should.
Me too, I must admit.
I could tell I could put her in any department in our small organization and she would thrive. And then also learn where she wants to go eventually. Not enough kids have that for all kind of reasons. So I'm hoping that we'll all get better at teach the critical thinking skill set, teach how do you get along and perform with other people, and then we'll teach you the other stuff, the technical side of it. So I think soft skills is the first thing, and schools are getting better at it. We're all getting better at it. I mean, teachers, I think, are seeing that as well. That makes the classroom perform better.
Right.
But it's also, we got to do our homework at home as well, helping our kids as parents and as churches and as any other organization. How do we give them, our young people, a chance to thrive with other people?
And I think that's something that Henrico has definitely been focusing on. Absolutely. With their workplace readiness skills and the technical skills. I mean, we're hitting all the buttons, and we're just getting better at it every year. And it's great to hear that that's what they're looking for, and that hopefully that our students are able to match up to those desires of the business community.
Well, quick aside, I was at your Verona High School my first fall here and saw your media center. And those 12 or so kids who put on that morning program, they got it. You could see within 5 minutes they knew how to teamwork. I mean, the teacher sat back. And this was like in September, so they hadn't been doing it very long.
Right.
They had the script, they knew the program, they knew who had to do what responsibility. It was fun to watch. We got to do more of that hands-on. It's just you can't get those skills just listening to someone lecture. You can't get those hands-on skills by just, again, reading and taking a test. How do we do things? I'm a big CTE guy because I see that you're touching, feeling the educational process much more so than if I'm in an English literature class. Nothing against literature. We need to be well spoken.
Right.
But we have to give kids much more of that as they go through the school day.
Yeah, and you see kids are more engaged when they can touch it, they can feel it, and they can really relate to why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? So you take that English and you turn it into something like audio production, like our radio programs do here at the A Center, and students really makes that more important for students. One of the other things you said, Brian, that I thought was really important, critical thinking. And I have to say that CTE courses really do help students think critically when you think about big picture, when you think about different projects you have to work on in carpentry, masonry, all of those hands-on trades and skills and computer technology, right? And I want to bring Mac in on this one right here. And Mac, what makes Chamber RVA so important to the world of work?
In schools, we're trying to teach those critical skills. We're trying to teach the soft skills, but a student will gladly look at us and say, y'all are paid to say that. When you bring someone from the outside to partner with us, and that's really what I think the Chamber brings to the table, is that partnership, the connections for students, for schools, to the business world. We've all heard the saying, it takes a community to raise a young person. They bring that to life for us. They give us those connections, the opportunities to connect, and students respond to that extremely well. When someone from outside comes in and says, you have to be at work on time or you're not going to have a job, and they go, oh, wow, that's right. We can say that till the cows come home, and it really doesn't matter. So that's powerful, and to have that reinforcement and that partnership is also very powerful with parents as well, because we're trying to prepare students for the future workforce, and knowing that the workforce is there with us doing that reinforces what we're trying to do.
I mean, it really can just help us better prepare those students if we know what the businesses need and what they're looking for, right? And quality students. Mike, you wanted to add something?
Well, no, you asked the same question. I was going to ask back.
Okay.
No, but I think it's important that this type of information is one thing that we really work hard at, is not just get this information out to the students, and get it out to the parents so they understand
absolutely
that the CTE world is something that is going to help their child achieve what it is that their ultimate goals, whether once they go to college, once they go to work. It's covering all the bases for them, and hopefully that they're going to pay more attention to it, and when they're looking to where their students going to go as through the years from middle school and high school.
I know my generation is guilty of it. We've been talking about every guy's got to go to a 4-year college for way too long. It's now into everybody's vocabulary. Even if a parent doesn't have a feel of what that is, they didn't go to college themselves. There's a perception you can only be successful if you get a 4-year degree. Then we stop there. We don't tell them that it's got to be in certain fields or it's got to be this or that. And so if you look at what Amazon, Apple, Google, a lot of these companies are saying, we're no longer going to require a 4-year degree for so many different jobs. We want you to get the skill set you need to come work for us. And then if you need a 4-year degree to go into marketing or an IT position or whatever, we'll help you get there. But this false premise that you've got to automatically go to X, and I love our 4-year school. We've got some phenomenal institutions around us in this region. But it really needs to be, and I love what Max said, I think the goal is enrollment, enlistment, or employment. Because, this state we're in as a nation where we're having kids take on $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 in debt and then getting a degree that's not going to make them successful, it's just not sustainable any longer. So how do we help a child? If I went back and did all over again, I'd have gone 2 years to a community college, got my basics, and then finished at a 4-year if that's what I wanted to do. But we force them into these high cost, not necessarily high pay positions just to say I got a college degree. I spent more time on community college campuses meeting kids that says, oh yeah, I got my 4-year degree at so-and-so. I'm back here getting my welding degree or my architecture drafting degree or whatever. So Career exploration's got to be important. Conversations, real conversations with parents, helping parents realize there's a multiple paths to success, and then giving kids that chance to touch it, taste it, feel it before they get there.
I mean, it really does sound like it's all about awareness, Brian, at the end of the day. I mean, you can't aspire for something. I say it all the time, like almost every episode, Mike.
Oh, yeah,
you can't aspire for something that you don't know about.
And I think that what we're seeing is that in a lot of cases, businesses are starting to jump ahead of that 4-year college is the only way. And just like what you said, we're not requiring it. But some of the businesses are going in and they're plucking students right out of high school and saying, come work for us and we're going to pay for your school and we're going to put you on the right track if you want to do what we're what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So that they don't, because they're running into situations where they're not finding anybody qualified.
That's right.
So they're basically hitting them right out of high school. Come work for us. We'll pay for your college, and we'll put you on the path that you need to work for us. And this can be your career if this is what you want to do. And we're just seeing it more and more. And it's even some situations where some of the businesses are, yes, we want you to take some classes, but you can also take some other classes that we're still paying for it that are outside our realm. So it's they're adapting to try and help themselves.
And that's exactly right. It should be that way. But also imagine this: if I'm an employer and I've got an employee who's very good in all the right characteristics, but they come to work every day and go home every day with $40,000 worth of debt, are they going to truly be the best performer when they're worried about that? And so I think there's a combination of, or a confluence of issues right now that are going on that are going to be helpful, I'm hopeful, in the next 10 years where we do more of that direct. I want you to work for me because you're a great person, and I'll get you to here if that's where you want to go. I mean, this young lady I talked to yesterday, she doesn't know what she wants to be 5 years from now, so I didn't ask her the stupid interview question, what are you going to be in 5 years? I said, what do you see the next couple of years look like? What
I
do you
need to
want
take that
get?
one off the list.
What do you want to learn while you're here, while you're doing stuff for us? And It was like, well, I don't really know. I said, good. Let me tell you what I think could happen, because you said you like government. We can do this. Because if I don't show an employee a chance of how they're going to grow, they're just going to do their job for a while and then jump to the next company, hoping it'll be better. But why don't I show them it can be better by just doing it with us? And to your point, yes, if you're good and qualified, I'll send you to the training and I'll pay for it, because then you're not worried about it. So I think there's a lot of things that work here, but what you all do in CTE is certainly, I think, a stronger pathway in the sense of getting that exposure knowledge early. And then they're more open-minded to other things, in my experience.
Yeah, and exactly. And we've talked about it before, Rashawn, is that the exposure that we're giving them at middle and high school level is so that they have a better idea once they reach that college. They're graduating and wanting to go to college or wanting to go to work. They've already had some experiences. They've already figured out, in some cases, this isn't what I want to do. And their reset is happening now, where they don't have the debt
You don't have to switch
involved.
that major. And then you get added another year of college on another semester of college.
We just had the back to school. We just had the back to school night last week, and I talked to some parents. It was like, oh my gosh, I am so excited about my kids getting involved in this, because I did it. I changed majors 3 times, and they don't want their child to have that happen to them and have to go with the debt that comes with that. So it's great.
All right, and on the topic of career exploration, I can't have somebody from Chamber RVA on and we not talk about Mission Tomorrow. So we're going to have to bring up Mission Tomorrow. So what is Mission Tomorrow? So if you hadn't heard of Mission Tomorrow, Brian, just give us a brief overview of what Mission Tomorrow is.
Well, I think we're in our 5th year. I see my colleagues in the studio with us that can correct when I make mistakes, but it's in our 5th year. And
He stuck up behind me. I didn't know he was there.
6th year.
All right, there you go.
It is and I've been here 2 years, so I'm still learning myself, but it is probably one of the largest career exploration events in the country, where all 8th graders have a chance throughout the region to come to a couple hours worth of a career fair and see, touch, and taste. And it gets gone from the typical, maybe years ago, a table with a banner, and I get to tell you about my career, to now, and I went through, last time we had it in person, seeing nurses try to incubate a dummy, seeing construction people try to operate a crane. That's what we got to get to. So it's not just to read a pamphlet, listen to somebody talk, but literally I can watch and see, this is what I would do if I went into construction. This is what I would do if I went into a medical field. You know, I love the learning you get from people at the career community college levels. Somebody comes into the nursing program but don't realize till 6 months in they don't like to see and touch needles and things like that. So how do we get people exposed to that much sooner? Mission Tomorrow is one of those opportunities where, again, every kid, 13,000 I think was the last high point we had when we did it in person 2 years ago. Last year we did it virtually because of COVID. We'll do that again this year, but I think we'll go back to in person the following year. A hope would be for me personally is that we not only let our children go through that experience, but eventually maybe do a night event where parents can come. That's a lot of volunteer hours, a lot of extra time to plan that, but the hope is we could get more people exposed at a much earlier level. Now, you don't expect an 8th grader to make a decision about their life at 8th grade.
That'd be a little rough.
But, I may know I don't want to do this.
It gives them that start.
Exactly. I could even go, and then I might leave the Mission Tomorrow as a 9th grader, take a class, and go, I really don't want to do medical or construction or whatever, but I'm really good at arts. I'm really good at hands-on this. That's the hope, is that it starts that thinking, that exposure. Then they come to you all and you let them go through a 4-year path of a couple of experiences, again, to guide them to where they want to be when they graduate high school.
So 8th grade, I'm going to bring Mac in on this again. That's kind of early for a career exploration. Why is 8th grade important?
It's a critical year for students in their high school pathway, because at the 8th grade they have the option to apply for so many different opportunities. And if they wait and do not take the classes to prepare them for that career pathway, they could fall short. For example, a student may decide, I really want to take practical nursing at one of our ACE centers, but they fail to take the math that they need to be prepared for it. And so I think what's really powerful about the Mission Tomorrow event, that you don't know what you don't know. So they get a chance to see that. And it's a regional event. I've always said our students, the skills that we teach do not go away when they cross the county line. They're going to serve our region, so they need to see what the options are in the region. But it also reinforces, once again, if you're going to be a nurse, one of the things they'll tell you is, I'm working with math all the time, and it's important. So now all of a sudden the student says, well, maybe I need to pay a little bit more attention in math so that I can pass that nursing exam when I leave, because that's going to be a major piece of what I do. So it gives value and meaning to the academics, and also gives them the direction to start thinking about where they're going. Do I want to take a center course, or do I want to take an ACE center class? Do I want to spend 4 years in art? It gives them that understanding of what they're investing in. I'm a big proponent on why. Why am I doing this? It helps that student answer the why. And what's really powerful, and I love the part, if we can figure out how to, we've talked about that for years, how do you get the parents engaged? Because, we hope our students will go home and go to mom and say, hey, I saw this really neat thing today, and mom will carry on a conversation. But I think as educators, it's incumbent upon us to make sure the parents have the knowledge to engage that student in information or in the conversation, and ask those the probing questions to get a student think, okay, you want to be a nurse, but you pass out when you see blood. Is that really what you want to do? Yeah. And help guide that decision, because we all know that at the end of the day, the parents have a powerful role in helping that student determine their future.
Right. I want to hit on the parent point in a minute, but I also want to say this though, Mac, right? So you're afraid, you find out you don't like blood. Let's look at other things inside of the health field that you can get into so you can be in that same line of work. Brian, I want to get your take on parents. You mentioned getting the parents involved in potential Mission Tomorrows of the future. Why is that an important part in your opinion?
Well, I think if you look at anything from what religion children choose to political parties, that our parents are still the most influential people in their lives. Teachers are very important, coaches. I mean, there's a lot of people that weigh in, but they still talk to mom and dad in most cases. So if a parent doesn't have any knowledge or can't help, then that's just a stop sign or a blockage to figuring out where I'm going to go in life. Or we may give false guidance in some cases. If a parent doesn't know what's happening in the market, you need to be a lawyer. Well, there might be too many lawyers. The flip side is on the trade side. People think if I go through an electrical program, I'm only going to be an electrician working for Mac. Well, no, I can be an electrician working for Mac for 5 years. Then I start my own company, and I start to build wealth for my family. I hire people after that. I'm not actually putting in the electrical components in a house or a building, but I'm hiring people. So I think we've got to talk about entrepreneurism differently. We've got to talk about giving parents the exposure that you really can do anything in this world you want to do, but you got to put the hard work in, you got to get the training, and then go get it applied. Young people right now can write their own ticket because we are in a place where supply does not equal demand for the first time in my working career to the level that it has in the past. I don't think we'll really live in 2008 in my lifetime where there was 15% unemployment in certain parts of the country. It's the flip right now. We can't get enough people to grow our economy fast enough because we don't have the skill set. So parents are critical to being advisors. Some cases it might just be to support your exploration. Sean, you want to do this? I'll support you to go find out about it. Maybe in the summer I can go, we'll get you a 2-week internship. So all those things matter of how we help our young people get exposure.
And Brian, you mentioned COVID-19 affected Mission Tomorrow, really has affected all of us. So what have you been seeing from the business perspective? And we've heard this term, essential careers, essential essential workers.
Yeah.
Thank you. So how have the businesses been affected, and what are they looking for as a result?
Yes, they've been affected in more ways than we'll ever probably know until we can take time to study it. But essential workers in the sense of construction, they never stopped building things. They had to do their jobs completely differently as they went to work, from sanitation to spacing, food service. You can't have a line cook and line people standing right beside each other. So we had to all adapt our processes. But I think what it also showed is that we also can work in different ways. My office has been remote because we can do our work anywhere there's a computer, anywhere there's a phone. It's not as fun. It's not as much as build esprit de corps, but we can do that. So I think it's just understanding how you have to change your business to adapt. And then the flip side of that is, I read just last night that business travel may not come back to the level it was before. I can now do a Zoom meeting if I've got a colleague on the West Coast instead of taking 2 solid days or more to fly out there and meet with them in person. I can do half my meetings through a Zoom type platform or Microsoft Teams. So I think hotels, hospitality, airlines are going to have to adapt their business model because of all of this. And so what? Business changes on a day-to-day basis. We all have to be able to adapt quickly, whether it be our workforce needs, how we do our business, or even the policies and procedures we have. But COVID certainly opened the eyes that a lot of things can be different depending on what the external environment is. But if you're not a good business that can quickly adapt, then you may not be in business for very long.
And it also showed us what positions are really vital to help society roll.
Yeah, COVID-19 has definitely exposed the essential workers and their careers and how important they are. And we're seeing double-digit growth in those very areas. And so it's really exciting that the students have those opportunities and to learn with us and then be able to move into those careers.
Running up against the clock here, Brian, I wanted to ask you, though, how important is CTE, in your opinion, to career exploration, to the greater community outside of our school walls, outside of our high schools, elementary schools, middle schools?
Well, not just because I'm here, and certainly not to make our college prep teachers feel left out. All education is important. But I think what CTE to me offers, again, as a parent now, as a business leader, is it's the one part of education you really do get to touch, taste, and feel. You get to experience it and say, I don't want to do that. I wish I'd have had a lot more of those experiences. Our guidance counselor told me when I got a senior that I was going to be a social worker. I said, "You're crazy. I'm going to go make money in business." Well, I'm right back where I started in the sense that I really am a social worker, as our team is. We just use business to get there. So there are tests you can take. There's surveys you can do. Those are important. But I think being able to go out and say, I'd like to do this. If I'd have spent more time in a construction trade pathway and said I'd love building things, I can see at the end of the day what I built, I might have gone that path. I didn't have that experience other than being a laborer on a construction crew. So I don't want to do that. So I think the more we can help our young people see that there's a lot in this world they can do, but then secondly, if we can educate our teachers that what they do is so critical, regardless of the coursework, you are molding and helping them see the value of what they're going to do when they graduate. And we got to do a better job of helping teachers get that education as well.
Yeah, they really are building the future, though.
Yeah, I think that some partnerships that are coming in up real quick with Major Clarity and some other companies that are with Henrico County Schools is going to even, like some of the stuff you said you didn't get to experience, we're looking that the students are going to be able to get some more knowledge, get some more experience, and the teachers and this is across the board. Parents, teachers, counselors, and the students are all going to have this working with them.
And to ride along with that, Mike, you're exactly right. We've actually started to change the way we think about careers and work. We use the term enrolled, enlisted, employed, but really at the end of the day, it's what are you going to do with your future? And so we're actually, through the help of Major Clarity, starting at the elementary school level, and I like to think of it as a funnel. Expose students to all the options that are out there. Let them see it, touch it, feel it, and then as you move through that funnel and get ready to graduate, when you pop out on the other end, you know the direction you're heading. And so if going to a 4-year college is what you need for that career pathway, you're going for a purpose and you're going to be successful. Right. But if going to an apprenticeship program will get you to where you want to go and then college afterwards, that's the direction you should go. But it's an informed decision. And so we don't recruit for classes anymore, because how do you tell a parent, well, your child's going to be a mason? They say, oh, no. But if you start talking about the construction field and deal with those big picture items, then they may find out, hey, I really love laying brick. That's what I want to do. And then I'm going to own my own masonry company. So you start to see that pathway materialize. And the Chamber, having things like Mission Tomorrow, gives us that exposure for those students that they wouldn't normally have.
Yeah, they had some really, really cool stuff at Mission Tomorrow. I think they had like a virtual welding simulator on there. But all right, we're going over the we're going.
Well, they do. No, it's amazing
cool.
what you see there. I mean, because it's not just like you said, it's not just walking up and getting a pamphlet. You're actually seeing the equipment. The electricians setting up where they're showing them how to wire for lights, and the plumbing guys doing their soldering. I mean, the Virginia Power has a huge setup there where they're showing the equipment and the materials and that they're everything.
I mean, they had like an airplane simulator over there.
Oh,
yeah. You could take off of the airplane. It's just all kinds of cool stuff they do over there. But we ran out of time here, guys. Wish we could talk more. We could probably talk.
We could extend
2, 3, 4 hours. Brian's got to go. I know Max got to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it short here. But first, I want to remind you guys to check us out on our social media. Again, Henrico CTE. The handle, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us there again at Henrico CTE. Check out HenricoCTE.com. Get more information on these awesome programs. And Mike, tell them where they can find the podcast.
You can find the podcast on all of your major and minor podcast venues. Download your favorite app. Find us, like us, subscribe, become one of our listeners. Hurry.
Hurry. All right, guys, that's it for us. For Mac Beaton, for Brian Anderson, for Mike Roberts, I'm Rashawn Garnett. And this has been Henrico CTE Now. Until next time, so long, everyone.